Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to invest in short-term rentals. As you may know, we're located right here outside the Great Smoky Mountains. That's one of the blue chip short-term rental markets. We get 15 million visitors a year, and we're going to be joined by 3 experts that are going to break down every facet of short-term rental investing tonight. So we're glad to have you here. Before we get started, Morgan Hardy, where are you at?
Right here, bud.
All right, come on up here real fast. I want to thank our sponsors. We've got a couple sponsors. They're not here tonight. Admiral Title does a great job for us. They've been doing this forever. If you're looking for someone in residential transactions, they can't handle every type of investing, but their customer service and their longevity has been great for us. Jacob Lay Property Management. I've got a deal I'm going to send out. She just sent me. Kristen manages 1,100 units. She just sent me a 5 unit that's pretty interesting to look at. And actually, she's going to be building some duplexes, renting out one side and selling those. So if you're interested in that play, let's chat and let's talk. Morgan, come on up here. Jump on stage, buddy. Morgan is with Foundation Mortgage. Morgan is a great partner for us. Morgan is also an investor. He's a great source of education. He loves talking about this thing. Morgan, tell him about yourself, and you're telling me about a great long-term rental product.
Absolutely. So we are a mortgage brokerage here. So we work with, at this point, about 75 different lenders to find different products, right? Whereas you're gonna hear from Nate tonight. He does an excellent job with short-term rentals. We do a lot more primary loan rents. So if you're looking for a home for yourself or that you're going to live in, or house hacking, we have a lot for that. We have a lot for everything, but primary residence, we do a lot in that space. As far as what was it? What did you say you wanted me?
You said you were telling me about this long-term rental product.
Yes, we do. We do have a relationship now with a private equity firm that's giving us some excellent, truly excellent rates for north of 250,000 long-term rentals in more suburban or urban markets. So if you have a DSCR loan that doesn't have a large prepayment penalty from the past 2 years, there's likely some good that I can do for your cash flow. So that's my big promo for myself.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Morgan. Give him a big hand. Foundation Mortgage has been a great host for us. I really appreciate them. All right. So, who was here last year when we talked about how to invest in short-term rentals? Okay, great. Well, we're changing up the presentation this time because we've got a great panel. We're gonna skim through some of these. If you're like, hey, slow down, we recorded the whole thing. You can see all of them on our YouTube channel. That's Grid Investors. There's youtube.com/gridinvestor. There is a Knoxville playlist, and we record all of our meetings there. They're uploaded there. It's the same presentation we did last time. So is it okay with everybody if we don't go through all those slides and we get 3 experts here, we can ask questions and really dive into the process? Does that sound good? Yeah? Cool. All right. So we're going to do a little raising hands because we can't just do intros here. Oh, and we got some giveaways. Yeah. Awesome. We got some STR books? 3 books and 2? Cool. All right. So who's brand new? Raise your hand. All right. Who is new, thinks they came from the farthest away? Josh as our speaker, he came from South Carolina, is raising his hand. Anybody else? Who came from far away? Don't be shy. Sure. Who came from far away tonight? Someone has to win. Someone drove from Strawberry Plains or something. Sevierville, great. Strawberry Plains. Anybody come from farther away than Sevierville? Alex? Nashville. I think Nashville trumps Sevierville by just a little bit. All right. Do you want a short-term rental investing book, or do you want a Grid coffee cup?
I'll take a coffee cup.
All right, cool. We'll get you that. Allison, get with her right afterwards, has this. What's the title of that book? I don't know. Corey Bottom. I have no idea. Yeah, it came on Amazon. Yeah, thank you, Travis. It's an excellent book. If you don't know Corey's obsessed with real estate. He's still at home obsessed with real estate. He's twitching because he can't sell real estate right now because he's home with the baby. So I think he read this one. He said it's excellent. All right. Who's coming to the most, they think? Who's coming to 5?
Who's coming to 5 grids? Who's coming to 6? 7? 8? How many of you come to, Sean?
I can't tell you how many, I did a bunch.
Yeah, you've been coming for a couple years, haven't you? I love it. Sean, Allison's got a great coffee cup for you. These are sweet coffee cups. We got
Sick merch. This is one of the best brands in the country. No, these are nice. Yes, there it is. What's the title?
Short-term rental, long-term wealth, your guide to analyzing, buying, and managing vacation properties.
Short-term rental, long-term wealth, right? And if you're new, you're reading all these books, all you have to do is get one nugget out of them. You don't need to master every single book. Like you read those things to get one thing out of them and you keep going. Because there's a million of these. And someone's always mentioning one. Awesome. So, of my new people, who is a...
Who's an investor? Who's an investor in the room? Everybody. Not just new people.
Aspiring to be one.
I love it, Dale. All right, aspiring to be one. Who has deals to sell right now? Who's got a deal they're looking to sell?
So, now keep your hands, there's only three of you. So it's Paul, Devin, raise your
And
hands.
Sam, Lance, Mateo. Who's looking to buy a deal? Okay, so you saw the 5 people, because that's the only 5 people that really have deals. I've got deals, by the way. I don't know if we raised his hand. You have some deals to sell, hopefully. Travis has some deals. He's hiding in the back. All right, great. Who's got money to lend? Nathan does. Nathan's a lender. Amber, maybe you're doing some private lending, joint ventures.
Not really looking too far into it, but it's possible.
And
Maybe has money. Maybe.
She has money, but maybe you can have it. Like, you gotta have a strong pitch. I like that. I like Shark Tank style, you're gonna have to win. All right, no, it's fantastic. Who's a contractor in the room? Who's a vendor?
Contractor. All right, awesome. I love it. A lot of these. Who doesn't want to make a lot of money right now? Be bold. All right. Who's doing something? I met a gentleman here that insures tax sales. Who was that? Where are you hiding? Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark insures tax sales.
85% of time, depending on the situation.
Awesome, fantastic. Paul back there is a developer. Are you still selling Heavenwood? Paul is selling a development of short-term rental cabins. Be a good guy to talk to if you want to run this play.
It's a great piece of property.
73 units.
73 units. Yep. So get with Paul afterwards. Justin in the back. Raise your hand, Justin. Justin is a licensed public adjuster. What a licensed public adjuster does is if you're dealing with an insurance company and they are not playing ball, or frankly, even before you call the insurance company, they're going to bring in an insurance adjuster that works for them. Justin is a public adjuster that you can hire to work for you to submit a claim and to advocate for you, right? So it's definitely someone to have if you're stuck dealing with insurance. Who's got a niche that I didn't think of, what I not hit on? Yes, Charles.
I do taxes for real estate investors.
Yeah, Charles does taxes for real estate investors.
Did my taxes.
Yep. Emily has a tax business for real estate investors. Kim, are you in the room tonight? Kim Townsend? Kim also has one. Jesse Stevens, where are you at? Jesse does bookkeeping for realtors, right? So that's who keeps you organized so the tax person doesn't kill you at the end of the year, right?
I need to meet her.
Yes, she's right. I'll make sure you meet Charles. Yeah. Sean. Sean is a syndicator. We have any other syndicators in the room? Who knows what a syndication is? Who doesn't know what syndication is? Awesome, great. You're in the right room. That's why you're here. You're here to learn. We did a session on how to syndicate apartments. Sean was actually one of the guest panelists on that, and it's recorded. It's on the website. So all this stuff is on the website, all free. You can all learn this. Anything else that I'm missing tonight? No? Simon.
We do exterior cleaning.
Yeah, tell me, what kind of exterior cleaning? Pressure washing or?
Washing, window washing, soft washing.
Simon does pressure washing, window washing, soft washing. If you own long-term, short-term rentals, one of the easiest, most neglected ways is just cleaning your freaking property. Pressure washing the sidewalk makes it look like someone cares about the people that live there. Buy a couple plants from Home Depot. These are all the things you can do to be a successful real estate agent, really. It's like stuff expires and then we come in and do very basic things and it sells magically and take some good photos. Yes?
My husband couldn't be here today, but he has a company that do yard aerating and fertilizing.
Love it.
Love it. Yard aerating and fertilizing, yeah.
We have a home inspection.
We do, Dave.
It's home inspection.
Dave with Ace Home Inspections. Yes, Leonardo.
Painting.
We got a painter. Any other painters? Contractors in the room? Amy's a painter as well? Fantastic, awesome, great. If you need to meet somebody, everybody, Travis, raise your hand real fast. Allison, grab one of us. Thank you so much for signing in. We appreciate that. One of the reasons we ask you to sign in with that information is so when someone's looking for a painter or a realtor or a contractor, we can make a connection. So hit us up, happy to do that. You can reach us anytime. Grid Knoxville on Instagram, you can find us there. Great, who's ready to get started? Let's go. We've got some more. So one of the giveaways we're gonna do, you can choose book. If you make a social media post, and why would you wanna do this? If you make a social media post and tag us, Grid Knoxville, at the end, we're gonna pick a winner.
Pick 3 winners. We'll give away the rest of those books and that coffee mug. Now, why would you want to do that? Who needs more deals? Raise your hand. Okay. Want a free marketing lesson? Here's the marketing. I buy houses. Your prospects need to hear that 7 times. That's it. I buy houses. I buy houses. If you are in this game, you are in the marketing game, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're a wholesaler, you're a rehabber, fix and flipper, long-term rental, right? The biggest challenge is how do I find deals? Well, how you find deals is everyone knows that you're a real estate investor, right? That's why everyone knows that I'm a real estate agent and an investor. When you tell people that, people come to you with deals. So yes, has anyone seen that happen? Their friends start coming in with deals. I see Devin nodding, right? They see you on social media and now they call you. Do people call you when they see crappy houses? Yeah, they're like, oh, I saw this total POS, right? Oh, it's over there on Magnolia, right? They'll call you up. So when you start making posts, and how do I know that? Because I'm standing in a room full of all of you and you're here to hear me speak. Like it works. We started this thing, we started doing it 3 years ago with 12 people on a Zoom call, right? And now we're doing this, and they asked me to be a director of expansion. It's just talking about it. When you start talking about it, you attract it. So yeah, make a post, tag us, we'll give it away. We're gonna get started. Allison, let's roll. Important legal stuff. Don't invest money that you don't have to lose, right? Trust but verify, right? We are not experts, and we are not insurance adjusters. We're not property inspectors, we're not surveyors, we're not real estate attorneys. I am not a title agent.
I'm not a property manager. I am not a licensed GC.
So any of the information you hear, trust but verify, right? There are some very, very good, the most important thing I tell any of you that are new is find someone to help you. I know I'm an agent, but one of the most important things I think in the real estate industry is agents have a fiduciary responsibility. So it's the highest duty recognized under the law. Is that right, Cofield? Yeah. This is the highest duty recognized under the law. They have a legal and ethical obligation to put your needs above their own. So there's plenty of them here. Find someone you vibe with, and they're going to be a great resource for you in kind of navigating, pointing you in the right direction. Hopefully they're going to have amazing contacts at the New Line Advice. All right. We are filming and photographing, so say cheese. All right. And let's get started. So what is a short-term rental? A short-term rental is a furnished vacation type rental property. Right?
Usually rented on a nightly or weekly basis. This is different than a midterm rental, right? A midterm rental is something that I might rent on a monthly basis, and you could run that play, like a midterm rental play, would work in markets where short-term rentals are banned. Because every market, well, not every market, the majority of properties are available to be rented on a monthly basis. I have seen some specific restrictions where it's got to be longer than a month, but I would say the majority of long-term rentals can rent on a monthly basis, so you can do long-term or midterm rentals. You need special zoning to allow you, or a lack of regulation to allow you to do short-term rentals on a nightly or weekly basis. So the process of finding these has become significantly easier, right? We have platforms like Airbnb that now allow us and have been publicized to directly communicate, manage, and advertise those rentals. Now in our area, what we've seen, we've been in a vacation rental market, the Smokies, for decades. People, websites like VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner. We were using that here. We're using that on the coast in Florida since the inception of the internet. That and HomeAway. They were advertising these. They were doing trading timeshares, right? This has been going on for a long time. It's why when you go out here, people talk about the rental program, because people used to buy these as second homes, right? And then put them on the rental program to offset their income. Why short-term rentals? Why are they sexy? Because rates can be a lot higher, which is also why everyone's flocked to these markets, and we're seeing some markets where they're totally failing, right? Because the numbers aren't there, or during COVID, people had money, people were traveling, so there were short-term rentals in many, many cities, right? And now we're seeing some pushback against those. But they can be significantly higher, and it can be something, depending on the asset, they can have greater appreciation than a long-term rental. In the right markets, you can get 3 to 10 times what you could on a nightly rental. In the right areas. I just saw, anybody get that email from Bigger Pockets today? The bigger flips? Yes, I see a couple hands.
I didn't get it.
Cool, so there is an email, Bigger Pockets has a short-term rental newsletter that goes out occasionally. So this came out today, and in one of the articles they were talking about how the Smokies are dead, and that we should all be going to Townsend or Cosby, which means that market will get saturated, soon too. I wouldn't disagree. Anybody seen a softening of the market in the last year? Who's actually in the short-term rental game right now? Who owns one? Awesome. Okay. So we have seen revenue going down in a lot of these cabins in this last year, declining from the peak in 2021. We're also seeing, anybody having great returns this year? John is? Yeah. We're also seeing that new product that's marketed correctly is doing fantastic. So we're going to have some people come up here and talk about that. And where does this work? This can work anywhere people travel. Who here is interested in doing short-term rentals in Knoxville? Who wants to do them in the Smokies? And who would like to do them in another market outside of Knoxville? Fantastic. Okay, just gauging what we're going to do. So Kai Andrew calls it the golden triangle for what he does. I think we'll get our speakers up here. They can talk about this at greater depth. Let's go on. Let's skip this one. This one's and this, I think, is the most important. I think it's going to give us a good cue to get our guests up here. So Josh, Vernon, Nathan, if you want to come up here. Like, what is the catch? What's the single biggest difference between a short-term rental and a long-term rental? When you do a long-term rental, you are a landlord. When you do a short-term rental, you are a hotelier. You're delivering a guest experience. It is a very different process, right? Anybody follow the Savannah Bananas? Am I the only one who's seen this? Banana Ball, right?
So Jesse, I forget his last name. Come on up here. Yeah. Grab a seat on the couch, y'all. So Jesse, that started the Savannah Bananas, is obsessed with the guest experience. And he talks about this, right? It's great if you're at all interested in customer service in any kind of way. There we go, big dog.
I knew Nathan was going to complain.
I didn't complain. I said there's 3 of us.
I'm obsessed with the guest experience. So one thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with short-term rentals is the entire
Process is the guest experience. Does that make sense? Like, if you're a landlord with the crappy application
process. It really doesn't matter that much. You probably not anyone even remember if they've rented a property what the application process was like? No, because once you get the property, you never think about it again. But when it comes to communication, expectation setting, all of that plays into delivering that guest experience. I've got to be focused on reviews. I've got to be able to manage complaints. How I manage complaints is probably the most important parts of the process. But I've got some experts here that are going to talk about this. I think this is a great place to start. We're having this conversation. Vernon, if you want to grab the mic here, I'll introduce everybody real fast. This is Vernon Corum. Vernon Corum of, what's your company name, Vernon? Staycating.
All right. So you can talk into the mic.
Sure. No
Yeah, fantastic. No, so we're going to run through
5 key pieces here. The acquisition process. What kind of media assets do you need to do this effectively? Do you want to self-manage versus doing a hybrid management or a full-time management? How do you market that property, which is different than the media assets, right? They're 2 different things. Like, if I don't have good photos and videos and the right assets, all the marketing in the world isn't going to make up for not having the right product. And if I got an amazing product and no one sees it, it's not going to be very effective, is it? Right? And the last part is guest experience. And Vernon, I like what you said. You said, actually, I like to start with the guest experience and then work backwards. So I think we can start there and work backwards. Who are you, Vernon?
I'm Vertical.
All right.
Short-term pro. My goal every day is to try to educate and teach people about short-term rentals. So when Justin said, be here tonight, yes, I'm here. I want to be here to help. I've been in the corporate housing side for a long time. So when he's talking about the midterm rentals, I'm really seeing a surge in that in the Knoxville market. There's some great properties that Justin and Corey have been bringing. I've got a new client that's coming to me that seems to be something really good around here right now. So not only I think the midterms are really good as well at this time.
I love that. And why do you say that you start with the guest experience first before all of that?
Sure. So when I look at it, I actually got a book called The Rule of Five. Basically, the first 5 minutes someone is on your property, they recognize whether or not they're going to enjoy their vacation. They know it 5 miles out. They know it 5 feet in the door. And that's not an original concept. I actually learned that from someone in the corporate housing industry. But when you're looking at a property, so many people discount the guest experience. They discount the view. Like in the Smokies, you better have a view, a pool, a hot tub, or something that keeps somebody engaged in the property. A lot of times the little pools are about the size of this stage, but it's for Instagram. They want to snap a picture in front of it, and they want to have a place where their kids can go and hang out. But for the guest experience, to me, sorry, I need to get up. Okay, the guest experience is really just the key to the whole thing. So you can buy a property that cash flows and whatever on paper, but if you have a crappy guest experience, you're not going to do very well at all. And I've seen it. We actually us three walked a property a couple weeks ago. This property should be doing, $250,000 a year, and it's not. And as soon as we walked in the door, we realized you got furniture that looks like it's from like the 90s or the 2000s. A lot of people that are in this market right now have kind of got their money out of the property. And so they don't think about the guest experience. They don't think about, most people are looking for the more modern look. The guests are coming into properties now, and when the competition is this new modern with all the high end, the chargers and all that, high-speed internet, those sorts of things, at that point, if you're the competitor of that and your guest experience is crap, you're not going to rent as well as everyone else. So I really believe that we got to start there when we're looking at properties. We start with the guest experience.
And I'd love to hear from Josh. Josh Lehue joins us from just outside Columbia, South Carolina. Are you in Irmo? Is that right?
Lexington.
You're in Lexington.
Yeah, Lake Murray.
Okay. Josh runs a company, 5-star guest book, 5 STR guest book. So nice play on words there, right? And what I like about Josh is this is what Josh really focuses on. I brought him into some properties that I'm working on, is starting with how do I underwrite that acquisition? How do I deliver that guest experience? Then how do I capture the media to deliver that, right? And then do the marketing. So, which is unique in a media partner, right? I'm always looking to maximize the value I get out of my referral partners. So when I found Josh, we connected actually looking for short-term rentals here. I wanted him to come here and talk about it because I loved how succinctly he explained it. So how do you define a 5-star guest experience?
I mean, what Vernon said was great. I'm probably going to steal some of that. Thanks. But a lot of it, when you look at what a 5-star experience is for your guest, when they first see you on the OTAs, which is your online travel agencies, Vrbo, Airbnb, whatever, it begins there, right? And you're speaking to them there. You're trying to catch you're not throwing a big net to catch all the fish. You're trying to catch one fish, right? It's very specific target audience, and that's where that experience begins. It begins with your photos, your listing, then your communication process. You've reeled them in, they raise their hand, I'm interested. How do I get them into the door now, right? We get in the door, we need to have them indoctrined to what our property is. That doesn't mean you just send them one email right before check-in, here's our rules, here's your code, right? You've already given them a boring time. We want to work up their experience coming into it. We want to offer them all kinds of things that they can do while they're there with us. We don't want them to have to think what they're going to do. We want to be able to show them what they're going to do. Of course they can do whatever, but the thing is we're trying to take the guessing game out of it to stand out. In a saturated market, you're in the Smokies, right? In a saturated market, it's a lot easier to stand out in a saturated market than it is to create a demand in one that isn't saturated, right? So with that guest experience, Vern and I were talking about this earlier, when I'm assessing or auditing a property, right? What I'm looking at, I started reading the reviews, and when I was looking at the review property that Vernon sent me the other day, every single review mentioned his name and how great he was at communicating, how helpful he was, how they had an issue, and he solved it immediately. What would have been a 3-star, 4-star, 1-star review became a 5-star review because of his customer service, right? Your management partner, if you're not self-managing, your management partner is probably, could be the make or break of your property, right? Doesn't matter how well you underwrite it, doesn't matter how much effort you put in setting up and the experience you're going to deliver. If they can't do their job, or you can't do your job to deliver that experience, that is not an experience. It's a bad experience, right? You're easy to be forgotten. You either want to be remembered for being great, you don't want to be remembered for being bad.
One thing you said there that I really liked, I don't know if anyone caught it,
He said it's easier to stand out in a saturated market than it is to create demand in a new market or a market without demand, right? But I think it's interesting. We are in a saturated market here in the Smokies. You are seeing the cookie cutter cabins with the bear themes that haven't been updated, that are a kit, aren't performing very well because there's better options. There's pool cabins that are focused on a guest experience. And I think it's fair to say, when you compare us to other markets like Orlando, especially,
we don't have the level of standout. We don't, there's lots of opportunities to copy what they're doing there and have great success here. You know, what are some of the well, I don't want to jump off, I think, too much off of, I like the question about upsells, but I'm not going to go there right now. How do you deliver that consistent guest experience? I'd love to hear from the two of you. Like, what are the systems and tools that you use to ensure consistency? Because I'd say consistency, right, is more important than doing an amazing job one time, right, and dropping the ball completely the other time in terms of how it affects your reviews and how it's going to affect your revenue.
So we self-manage our properties. That's our choice. Initially, when we first got into this game, if you've ever heard of Odyssey, my wife and I are Odyssey members. They primarily find a property manager and underwrite the property for the property manager to be involved. That could be 20, 30, 35% of your revenue. That's a huge amount of money when you're underwriting for those type of deals.
Yeah, Vernon.
But
They're all
you know,
good.
out of the 2,000 or so members there in Odyssey, they have a lot of self-managers, and myself and another guy, we lead a self-management call for them monthly. But when we self-manage, same as Vernon's probably going to say something very similar, it's our SOPs, right? Our standard operating procedures for how our cleaners leave the place, for how they set the place up for the next guest, for the experience that we have for the guest. For a condo we have in Hilton Head, we have a storage unit that's under another one of the buildings that has beach toys, right? This is my fault on something. I had my cleaners go down there every second time, and then I'd pay them extra $20 to walk down there and just go check the storage unit. We were busy at peak season, slammed. I was like, hey, I know you guys are busy, don't worry about that right now. Well, I went down there. They didn't go 3 times because I didn't tell them to. I went down there to find that people had been leaving all the toys they didn't want to take back home with them in the storage shed, right? So we had 4 noodles, 4 boogie boards, 4 chairs. We had like 20 noodles, 500 sand toys, right? And now if you try to use that storage shed for your own fishing gear or whatever, there's no room in there, and that's my fault for not being on top of that SOP, right? And so you
learn from those mistakes, and luckily that didn't show up in our reviews. It only showed up because I got a private message from a 5-star review saying, hey, just letting you know the storage shed was pretty cluttered with stuff. I'm like, it shouldn't be. But I'm like, I haven't sent my team down there to look for it, right? And I'll say one other thing for him. Well, I think I said this to you on a call. You know what fenugreek is? Fenugreek is a spice, and it has a smell of burnt maple syrup. Okay, a French Caribbean national was cooking in our unit, spilled and heavily burned fenugreek. Long story short, we couldn't get the smell of the unit, had to fog the ducts, still couldn't get it done, did not know what the smell was. I was at dinner with my attorney, and I mentioned what the smell was, and he says, fenugreek. I'm like, how do you know what that is? And he said, when he was in law school at NYC, that there was a fenugreek factory in Jersey that like caught fire or something. All of Manhattan smelled like maple syrup for like a week. And so he knew what it was, and sure enough, so what I did is I went on and got on top of the microwave, and I did not know this. Microwaves have charcoal filters on top, and the charcoal filter gets oversaturated over time. It holds the smell. So the smell that as we followed the ducts was still coming out of this little $1 charcoal filter on top of the microwave. I didn't know they existed. I had to add that to my SOPs, right? There's little things like that, those lessons, have those things in place, but learning more importantly from people like Vernon, who's going to probably really blow your minds a lot more than that. Actually, standard operating procedures are part of it. And I find that most people
in this industry think they can set it and forget it. How many of you have heard passive income? Oh, you'll just buy a short-term rental and you'll just be passive. Well, what I found is that I traveled recently. I took my son down to Chattanooga. I travel. I stay in places. I stayed in an Airbnb. I loved it. It was a great property. But I sent the review pretty much the first morning. His bot, his communication, kept asking me for a review. So as a courtesy, I called him and said, hey, you sent me your text, you sent me your cell phone number, you sent me all this stuff, but you have basically bugged me for something I've already given you, and I gave you a good review. And so sometimes I think we just think I'm going to set it and forget it. I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it. If you own a short-term rental, you should probably be visiting about every 30 days, because even in my business, and as I scale and as I get larger, and sometimes you think that you've got a lot of things on go, and you got good cleaners and you got good inspectors and you got all that, and then you go walk property and you realize I've got to get better and I've got to continually update those things. So what Josh is saying is when you're in this business, you got to be consistent. And I think communication is best served coming from whoever the person, his name is on it. So I've got vacation rentals that I have a hospitality company that helps me with. The ones I personally curate, I get way better reviews on those. Wonder why? It's because I'm actively engaged in conversations. So the guest experience when they talk to me is different than when they talk to one of my VAs or they talk to somebody that, no offense to any of them, but I've seen a lot of things. I'm not sitting around waiting on someone to ask for a discount because they smelled something or they saw something. Documentation is everything. That's one of your standard operating procedures. You've got to have documentation of everything. I mean, angles, videos, whatever you can get that's time-stamped and dated, because people will lie. People will try to cheat you. They will try to steal from you because that is the way that it works in vacation rentals. So I think consistency in your branding and your marketing, but more than anything in your communication and how you treat that rental every day, that you got to get out and see them ever so often.
And I wanted to start with the guest experience, because if we just focus on the revenue, it's very easy to squirrel. I talk to new people all the time, right? And I'm looking for something I can get subject to. I'm looking for a vacation rental. I've learned one tactic, right? I have this hammer and everything looks like a nail. All I'm looking for is nails. And so if that doesn't appeal to you, you're going to have a tough time. If you don't have a vision for what a guest experience looks like, how are you really going to interview property management companies? Does that make sense? If you're like, okay, I get a guest experience, but I'm still just going to hire a property management company. Well, how am I going to interview Vernon or any of these others, many of these companies, and get some clarity on what that's actually like? Does that make sense? And if it doesn't appeal to you, that's fantastic. There's lots of different plays that we can run in investing. We should focus on, I think, what are the plays that appeal to our strengths, and go deep there, right? And so I wanted to start with that guest experience, because if you're not, anybody else from the service industry? Yeah, restaurants, just me. Anybody ever have your servers that clearly don't like people? Yeah, I don't like. They shouldn't be in that. Go get a different job. Go stock shelves at Kroger or something. You don't have to wait tables. Like, I really like people. I'm sure you can tell. Like, I enjoyed being a server. I worked at Ruby Tuesdays. It sucked. You couldn't deliver a good guest experience. I worked at Vrbo in town when it opened. And I was there when it opened, very different restaurant. And it was like, oh, here's what we do, right? We go and they want to go to a movie. Well, I go over and I buy their movie tickets so they can enjoy dessert. That was back, dating myself here. This is before you buy the naps, guys. Everyone under 30, there was, you had to walk in person and talk to people. But I got inspired by that. I got really excited, and one of the through lines, I'd say, through all the things that I've done is guest experience. It's been really exciting, like delivering high-level guest experiences, because it's an easy way to stand out, right? It's very easy just like to care about people.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
I always tell people your property tells a story. And that story is also being told not only to their friends, but to social media. And the review process, he went through my reviews the other day, and I do it a lot. When somebody comes to me and asks me for a pro forma, I always ask for the link to the property, because I want to see what story that property is already telling. Because if this current person is coming in wants to buy a property and just put it on autopilot and they really don't want to do anything to it, probably not a good investment. So always remember that. Your property's telling a story, you're telling a story. As a host, the property's telling a story, as the host is telling a story. And people need to be able to engage with that story and understand that where I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be comfortable, I'm going to be a place where I'm going to enjoy it. I've got kids that have been riding in the car doing God knows what in the back seat. When I get there, I just want to relax and just enjoy myself. We discount that so much, I think, in our industry, that's all people really want is just to be a place that's clean and comfortable and they can just kind of enjoy their vacation and not be hounded and bothered. So that's this property telling that story to you.
I appreciate that, Vernon. I'd love to, and you cue this up perfectly for Josh.
You said everything tells a story, and you go look at reviews. Josh, you asked this when we were doing our little huddle before this. You said, how do you get more reviews? There's some people that get 80%, like a response rate, so 80% of their guests are leaving reviews, and the industry average is only 10%. So what's that, right? That's... Some people are getting 80, the industry average is only 10% of guests are leaving reviews. So how do you close that gap?
So, it's communication, right? Our most recent launch in Hilton Head, we'll use that one for example, it's easy math. We've had 20 guests since launch. We have 16 reviews and the 17th one is coming in. So the ones we've missed, they were over 60 and really just not very tech savvy. Right, but we also have a very specific target audience. I have about to be 4-year-old and 1-year-old twins. Right, this 2-bedroom condo is set up for families with small children. The furniture is low to the ground. It is rounded edges. Right, this is important because my kids are insane. Right, I want to have that. Now I want to make sure that and all but 2 of our guests came with children 5 or under because we targeted that specific guest. We communicated with them, we spoke about it in the listing, we said, hey, not only do we offer a pack and play and stroller and a walker, which I think is not supposed to be parenting anymore, but I grew up in the 80s, whatever. So we have walkers there. But we also, if you have an infant, if you let us know, we will leave out a bottle sterilizer, we will leave out an unopened bottle brush and unopened spoons. Because bottle sterilizers are large and bulky, and if you're trying to haul all your stuff, we have 3 small kids. 1 extra cubic foot of space is huge in the car, right? But we offer that in the front end. Now we have a communication started. Who all's coming? Why is this going on? Review process. Once the guest leaves, okay. This is something that I may go against some bigger name gurus here. I do not like communicating with them on the day they leave. I like letting them the day after they get home. The day getting back, it's always fun going on vacation, and with small children, it's not always fun going home from vacation, right? And I don't want to talk to you, please leave me alone. I want to get home to my beer, please, I need this, right? So the next day I message and say, hey, hey Vernon, I want to appreciate it so much for you staying with us. I hope you guys enjoy the place as much as we do. Now we have a common thing together, right? We left you a 5-star guest review. If other hosts are able to see, we would love to have earned one from you as well. Right? Now, the only times I would not ask that, I don't review them until my cleaners have been on site and obviously make sure that everything's together, nothing's damaged, missing, etc. We luckily, and Vernon said something about a guest trying to get refunds, a lot of what you do on the front end with who you target and how you speak to them and how you price them will solve a lot of those problems. However, not all properties are going to be luxury properties, and you may be operating, sorry, I'm going to click in a little bit. You may be operating a unit that maybe gets, but that communication on the front end, people are more willing to screw you over when they don't know you, right? And that indoctrination on the front end of speaking with them and becoming their friend and becoming close with them and identifying with them helps to negate a lot of those problems. How we get it though is asking for their review after they've been home, we know the place is clean, and saying, hey, we gave you a 5-star review, and now, you want to reciprocate, right?
Well, reciprocity.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, or The Go-Giver, it's a great book if you want to, right? That's a great hack. So it's, hey, I'm waiting till they get home. I'm being intentional when I ask that review. I'm building a relationship on the front end, and I'm also giving something before I make an ask in return.
Right.
No, I love that. Nathan, you ready to talk? I just saw your name tag. That's great.
Everyone will remember me.
So this is Nathan Gort, aka Batman. So Nathan, who are you?
I'm Batman. No, sorry, that was perfect. Thank you.
That was good.
I wish I wore my Batman outfit. Someone asked me if I was going to wear a onesie tonight. Thanks, John. I'm Nathan. I'm with the lender. I specialize in lending and finance, from everything from financial planning to how to finance your deal, how to analyze your deal. It's funny that they all mention reviews, because we were looking at a deal for a client just before this meeting, and I always dive deep into the reviews. And it's great you read the reviews, but we laughed at this customer who was having a terrible time, but the response by the property manager was even better. They said, "It's your own fault." That was the response. It says, "You trashed our place. This is your fault." So I'm big into diving deep like they are. When I analyze properties, finance, everything, it's more than just, it's easy, like he said, to look at the numbers. I believe numbers don't lie, and I believe reviews don't lie. I've learned that's a lie, because on my rentals I had a lady lie, so I know sometimes they do lie. But numbers don't lie. Customers do.
No, I love it. So I wanted to involve Nathan. Nathan's a great resource for me when we're talking through short-term rentals. I'd like to talk about the acquisition process and start with talking about the underwriting. And we're going to keep this real simple
101.
frameworks.
Gotcha.
What we're going to do next Tuesday, by the way, at our office at eSpaces. Who's been out there for a grid coffee? Oh, cool. Only a couple of hands. Fantastic. This will be new for you. So in our office at eSpaces, we're over in the Fresh Market Shopping Center. My office is there. Everyone knows that, on Kingston Pike, right? It's the last one before you hit Sequoia Hills. We've got an office on the second floor. So we're going to do our grid coffee there on September 20th. Brandon Christopher of Mountain Cabin Home Builders is going to be there. They build, I think, the best luxury product in the Smokies right now. So he's going to talk to us about what they're building, and we can look at some of their projects. But on Tuesday, we're going to sit down and we're going to run game film, and we're going to live analyze deals. So if you want to come join us, we'll stream this. We're going to be in the office on Tuesday evening. I'll send this out to everybody. But we're going to go deep on this, and we're going to go deep into the numbers. So we're going to give a high-level overview, and if you want to see how the math works and really tear this apart, you can come join us online on Tuesday or in person, and we're going to go and tear apart specific deals that are actively on the market that you can acquire if you're in the market for one. Okay, so how do you underwrite a short-term rental deal?
So first, let's clarify. Are you asking me as the lender or when I buy?
As a buyer.
Okay. So as a buyer, I like to find underperforming properties. I also like to do my research and find properties that I know they are, kind of hurting. Because that way, when I underwrite, I can say, hey, worst case scenario, this person who doesn't know what they're doing, we won't say their names up there, certain property management companies, they are making X. I know that is the baseline for the minimum I should make because these people are terrible. And then I use my performa. I dive into AirDNA. You guys have all heard of AirDNA, right? It's done a recent update, so.
No, we have. What's AirDNA?
AirDNA is an online database that takes information from Vrbo, I call it Vrbo, AirDNA or Airbnb, and it allows you to get performas, right? You can see what it's done. It lags a little bit, but you can see what you should make in a year's time.
So AirDNA is a subscription website, right? That's got an API with these, and it's scraping and it's pulling data from what Josh referred to as these OTAs, these online travel agencies, and it's giving you market data. So I can go use that. That's how I determine if it's underperforming, right? I can go say, hey, here's what it should be doing, and that delta.
Absolutely, because we looked at a deal earlier, and it's a beautiful cabin. It says it should project 65 grand. Take that with a grain of salt. You have to dive deep into the reviews and the comps. Find things that are actual comps because they don't dive deep. You have to look at pool to pool cabin, right? View to view, all that stuff.
Slow this down. So when we talk about comps, right, what that comes from that language is comparable sale analysis. It's the way that appraisers underwrite a property. It's not based off of price per square foot. No one actually evaluates property that way as a professional. What they're doing is they're looking at what's called a compared sale analysis. To his point,
they're saying, what are the comparable sales? This is a 4-bedroom pool cabin. That is a 2-bedroom cabin, doesn't have the same views, right? It's not comparable in terms of amenities. What we're hopefully trying to find are things that are as similar as possible. And if they're not, we're making an adjustment. And that's where skill and experience comes into play. Hey, maybe I'd be better off looking at a pool cabin that's 3-bedroom and making an adjustment for that versus finding another 4-bedroom that doesn't have a pool cabin because it's a different client avatar. So we use comparable sales analysis when we're doing regular residential properties, and we also do it when we're using these income properties.
Right, 2 years ago, it was all in the Smokies. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was all about how many people could you get in a cabin, right? Now, and the builders in here will agree with me, it's all about the experience, right? You have to have an experience. So like we looked at a property, it's better to have less people, but a better experience, right? Because it's a higher quality, it's modern, it's got the game room, the pool. So that's why you can't compare that on AirDNA or Vrbo or Vrolio, all these online sources, which we will go over next week. But you need to make sure you're lining up with actual comps, because otherwise you're gonna miss the bucket like the one we looked at. So talk with the builders, but you'll see up there, like he said earlier, there's the old cabins, and then there's this stuff that I guess Brandon would be the perfect example that's out of this world, right? And we're seeing more guests go to that because it's an experience. It's no longer, let's put 20 people in a 2-bedroom cabin. Plus that's illegal, okay? Just know up there it is illegal.
So at the most basic level, when I'm underwriting a deal, what I'm looking for is I've got to get a baseline of what this could perform, right? And that's where I'm using AirDNA, or
Yep.
I could also be using a property manager.
Experts, local
Yeah,
experts are the
talking.
best.
I could go
Burn,
talk
all
to a
them.
couple of different property managers and get projections of what it should do under their management, right? And then I'm looking at the actuals
Yes.
and underperforming. So that's just on the revenue side, right?
Yes.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, please.
I was gonna say I got some too.
So, talking about AirDNA, and you know Sean. So, through one of the groups I'm in, we have access to the highest level they offer, which is a global advanced tier, and we can see some crazy metrics. There are free versions, and I would not suggest spending $500,000 on a free version of a program for what I told you, and we'll give you the examples of where the data lies differently. And I won't go too far into this. I graduated with a statistics degree. I'm actually getting to use it now in my 40s. But basically, my house, I live across the street from Lake Murray, right? The only comps in my area are lakefront properties. We have a really nice pool. So if I go to AirDNA and I type in my address, the free version, it says my home is going to gross around $85,000 a year. If my home was gross $85,000 a year, I'd go move somewhere else. It won't, because I'm not on the lake. I can see the lake. I can't get to the lake for a mile either direction. The data can't tell you that, right? You've got to dive further into it. You need to know the comps. You need to talk to local professionals, right? You can buy sight unseen. This is something I would personally do, but you need to understand the data. You need to have someone in the market that's boots on the ground that knows that, and that's where guys like Vernon and Justin can come in.
No, I appreciate that. And so trying to describe it is a little difficult, but if you're curious about it, we've recorded calls before on this. We'll show you exactly how we're running data using Vrolio, using AirDNA, like how are we pulling comps, what revenue ranges are we setting, like walk you through that, because you kind of need to see, there's so many variables. But basically we're getting a projection. When we're underwriting, what else are you looking at? Are we looking at current expenses? Are we looking at, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I like a P&L because there's so much you can hide.
So a P&L is a profit and loss statement, right?
But on top of that, a lot of people will discount what that occupancy rate says.
Yep.
It may be 55%, and everybody's like, well, I can do 90. Well, then you start looking, and all the others are doing 55% occupancy. Well, you've got to make a real decision at that point. Nathan and I kind of piss a lot of people off because we just tell them the truth. If you're in a space that only does 50% occupancy, lake properties, beach properties are a lot of that. But maybe you've got a cabin and it's in an area that just doesn't perform well. It's better to know that on the front end. So I think that's big. Your daily rate's one thing and all that sort of thing. But I think that's something that a lot of people forget about is what is it currently occupied at? And even if it's a baller cabin, it still could have a very low producing occupancy just because it's just in a spot that a lot of people don't go to. So that's one thing I look at underwriting.
Allison, I think we've got a slide that's got occupancy rate, average daily rate, which would be probably good to just give me the thumbs when we have that one pulled up there. So when we're calculating this, we've given you formulas before. Fantastic, right? Here's the math that you need to know. If you guys can't see this, and it's hard to see where you're sitting, it's just that occupancy rate times average nightly rate is your annual gross revenue, or you can do it another way. Effective nightly rate times 365. So what's effective nightly rate? Effective nightly rate is a blended number, and that number gives you, it's combining occupancy and your average daily rate. Does that make sense? Hey, I get $1,000 a night for easy math, but I've got 50% occupancy, so my effective nightly rate is 500 times 365. That's my daily revenue, right? Because there's 365 days in a year. So that's all the math you really need to know. Occupancy rate is just what it sounds like, right? It's the rate at which the property is occupied. And then you want to be clear when we're looking at our nightly rate, what does that include, right? Does that nightly rate include does it include cleaning fees, or does it not include cleaning fees? Doesn't matter, just as long as you have some consistency, because those cleaning fees can be a pass-through expense, right? Does it include cleaning fees? Does it include taxes? Or is that actually what they're charging for a nightly rental rate?
And one thing that they brought up earlier, it's not passive, right? It's active, because reviewing a failed short-term rental recently, the people set a price and leave it all year round. That's wrong. I mean, like the holidays up there, like you should be getting top dollar. So it's not passive where you just set it and forget it. That's what a lot of people up there don't like, because that's what it used to be 5 years ago.
What you're talking about is revenue management.
Yes.
That's the term in the industry.
yes.
If you're looking to Google this, it's revenue management. It's, hey, I need to maximize what I'm getting at Christmas or the holidays, and I need to be intentional maybe in the lower season and moving that and adjusting that on a regular basis. There's software systems that people use. Right. You know, you can go deep in the weeds on this stuff.
Yes.
Right?
That's why you don't
spend a
look
lot
at
of
the
money.
you don't look at the free stuff. The free stuff is to tease you, to say, should I look deeper? Then you look more in depth, like he talked about. The AirDNA access we have it's phenomenal what you can see, but you need to know that daily price, the ADR, is not what you're going to do every day. You're going to have experts here that are going to say, hey, one night it might be $1,000 during the holidays, and then on the low night, you know, during summertime, you might be $300-400 because some money's better than none in a lot of situations.
So I've got a question for Vernon, and then I have a question for Josh, because I think Josh is going to have the national data for us, because you work all over the country doing what you do. Vernon, what's good occupancy in our local area? What's a realistic number to target?
You know, during the pandemic in the 2020, 2021, we were hitting, 93. Right now, I think somewhere between like 78 to 80 some percent is a good occupancy. We're not hitting those numbers in some of our markets, some of our properties. What I'm doing right now is I'm auditing all of the properties that are in the portfolio that I manage. And I'm actually walking them. I'm seeing what we can do to bring it up. Because ideally, I look at a property, I like to see about 75% to 85% occupancy. Now, getting those numbers is definitely a difficult,
Actually, I'm going to go, Nathan, when you underwrite it, what occupancy are you underwriting these for? Are you doing at 78? Are you doing for like 65?
Me as myself again.
Maybe as a lender.
Okay, as a lender, we don't care, right? All we care about is what the revenue is. As a lender, if you have a P&L, we will actually underwrite your loan to what the property is currently doing, because short-term rentals, right, is a business. Now, me as an individual, when I buy, I want to look at occupancy rates because it's very important. So I usually underwrite for myself. Whatever I see is going on, I'm very conservative. I know I'm Batman, but I'm conservative. I usually take 10% off of what I find, because I know a worst case scenario, that's what I'll be at, because I always go safe.
Okay, so what we're talking about there is the difference between projections and actuals. Around here, it is difficult to get actuals. Like, what people sell properties with is frankly absurd.
Yes.
I've seen properties where I was like, oh, awesome, thank you. You screenshotted what Airbnb says your project. That's what we're selling this off of, is like, you just went on Airbnb and there's a projection there and you screenshotted that, and that's what I'm supposed to present to clients. But we also live in Sevier County is an interesting market. It's not like the rest of the country in terms of being behind the times. What Nathan is saying is, from an underwriting perspective, they're going off of actuals. They want to see a profit and loss statement. What's going to be on a good P&L, Nathan?
A great P&L, we want to see gross income, and then for us to make it simple, because whether you self-manage or you pay someone, we just take 20% off the top. So to underwrite from a lending standpoint, if you use actuals, you take gross income, you take 20% off. So if you do $100,000 a year, $80,000 is your usable income. We can also use projections. It's the exact same model. If we project your property is going to do $100,000, we take 20% off, because here's the thing, whether you use a property manager or you self-manage, there's a lot of fees, and they'll tell you that go into it even when you self-manage. So 20% off the top is just a safe bet. That's what the big investors have agreed to when we presented it.
And then do you also want to see the actual operating expenses on that profit and loss?
As the lender, I do not. But when I review the properties for people, because I coach people on this, I want to see it, because there is no better resource than the last 12 months. I do not want to see, like Justin said, agents that say, hey, in 2021 it did this. That's great. What have you done for me lately?
And he said 2021 because 2021 was a record year during COVID. If you looked at TripAdvisor, I always forget which was which, but Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg were the number 1 and number 4 highest rated destinations on TripAdvisor. No one could go anywhere else, so they all came here. Right? It's,
lot of
honestly,
money.
and so the revenue numbers, that's going to be a high watermark for a very long time because it's unrealistic because everything else was shut down. Josh, I want to ask you, when you're, let's talk occupancy rates, because you got, if you've not used AirDNA, what AirDNA does is it allows you to buy hyper-local data, but it can be by a zip code or by a city. What he's saying is there is a global access where you can see data all over the country. It's expensive. It's one of the reasons to be in the program that he's in, getting access to this. But you're getting global data that we don't have. I'm not an expert on the national market. So when you're looking at what's in a vacation rental market, what kind of occupancy targets are you looking at?
So I won't go too far in the weeds on this. Comp sets, data sets, right? If I'm underwriting, what's Gatlinburg, okay?
Yep.
And I want to look at a certain asset class, a single family home, and I want to see a bedroom count, 2 bedroom, whatever. I don't really care about bathroom counts unless it's extreme, right? Like I have an outhouse, or I have like 7, right? I don't really care. I'm gonna run occupancy rates for the last 3 years, right? And knowing that that's gonna take us back towards the end of 21 where the rates are a little bit high, occupancy rates are higher. Then I'm gonna average that out, right? I'm gonna see 3 years of average occupancy, and what does that number come to be, right? That number is different from market to market, asset condo to house, bedroom count to bedroom count. My 2-bedroom condo in Hilton Head, it is ocean side. I guess we own the land that's the marsh and the beach. So with that occupancy there, because they're smaller units, typically smaller units are going to have a higher occupancy because it's less moving parts, right? For me to take my wife and family somewhere, it's quick and easy. For me to take my wife, family, 2 grandmothers, sister, now we have a lot of other moving parts. So the bigger the property, typically the lower the occupancy for that area, right? But that Hilton Head condo will run on average around 75 to 80%. When we see a lot of mountain markets, because there's a lot of seasonality, you're looking more in the 55 to 65%. A good manager will get you more occupancy, but it should not be at the cost of your nightly rate, right? There's an inverse of that where you're going to start losing money, and basically you're not just losing money because your rates are too low, you're getting more wear and tear in the property. You got to replace that couch, you got to replace that charcoal filter that now smells like fenugreek, right? You got to replace all this stuff. So you want to find the sweet spot to where you're able to maximize your nightly rate. Also look at the type of investor you are. Are you strictly an investor for cash flow and appreciation, or are you a lifestyle investor that wants to use the property as well, right? And are you using the property on July 4th because that's your biggest week, right? Or are you using it on the off season, right? And so underwriting comes into all that play. But look at the occupancy, and much like Nathan said, the occupancy doesn't really matter on the underwriting side. It matters what the revenue is going to be, and how you play that game doesn't really matter to the lender, because they just want to make sure that you're going to pay your note.
You know, since we have the mic, I think it's a good possible segue. We'll come back to the underwriting. One of the things you said before that you should tell us about why you should never short-term self-manage to make the numbers work.
If you are doing it to save money, you're not doing it for the right reason. Hospitality is not, and you said about hospitality business. I used to own some nightclubs. I started working in bars when I was 16 with a fake ID, right? And I owned nightclubs until the mid-2000s. 2 of the largest nightclubs that were privately owned in South Carolina at the time. And the hospitality business is rough. And if you're not willing to give a VIP experience to someone, right? And people are willing to buy the VIP experience, and you're just doing it to save money, that's probably not the right investment, right? It is a job, right? If I want Vernon to manage my property, I have a lot less to worry about, and Vernon earns his percentage cut from me, right? If I'm like, ooh, Vernon, you're too expensive for me, I wanted to not do the work, but I also want to keep the money. Right, there's gonna be a problem there because there's only so much time it can offer.
Yep.
No, I think that's interesting. Anybody have any questions? We're talking about how to underwrite assets. Anyone have any questions on underwrite an asset? And if you're around,
Of course, the furthest.
I would
Charles.
appreciate
Charles.
Do you
if
see
you
him
move
behind
slightly
Yeah.
faster.
Charles.
He can't
Charles,
see you.
what's your question? I'll say it for everybody else.
Yeah, scheduled maintenance, like, you fix this up as it comes along, you, blocking out time, I know that eats into your vacancy.
Got it. So I'm going to reframe that. Great question. So he said scheduled maintenance, right? Are you being proactive or are you being reactive? Are you fixing things as necessary? Or are you proactively setting aside, time to maintain that property because that's going to affect your occupancy. So how do you manage that?
As a self-manager, I'll say it like this, response versus react, right? If you walk up and punch me in the face for no reason, I'm gonna have to react. If you say, hey, I'm gonna come over to you and punch you in the face in a few minutes, I have time to think about it, right? So proactive, right? Certain times, deep cleans before or after each major season, deep clean, right? Certain things need to be painted, certain things need to be replaced, right? That's when your inspectors are auditing, should be coming in whether from a PM side or your side where you're going on site and you're not there to play, you're there to work, right? My family gets to come down and enjoy it, and I'm crawling up under the ductwork, right? And making sure everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Because the thing is, when you do it on the front end, it's a lot easier to have it fixed on the back end because you have the pieces in place for it. And things, accidents can happen, but you're able to mitigate that a good bit. And I don't know how Vernon might do it on the property manager side.
Well, again, I think you don't want to be reactive. That's why I'm doing audits on all of my properties that I manage currently in the next couple of weeks and months, is because it's better to know that you replace the batteries in the front door lock than have to worry about them going out at the time. We have a backup to the backup to the backup, but it's always better to have that HVAC inspection or have something done at a scheduled time than when the guest is there and you've inconvenienced them. Again, going back to the guest experience. What's the best way to keep it from happening is accidents happen, things happen. But the best way to keep it happen is to continually have a maintenance plan, have a good inspection team, have plenty of people in place that are going to be putting active eyes on the property. All of my cleaners and all the people that work with me understand that, hey, if you went to turn the TV on, the remote's not working, there's extra batteries there, please take care of that. Don't make me get that call at 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody's mad at me because you saw it. The coffee pot's not working.
I've got a question for you, Vernon.
Right.
So you're very good about having setting standards. This hospitality industry is all about systems, processes, and standards. That's it. Like you've got to train to a certain standard, so you've got to show them exactly what this looks like a perfect turn looks like. Sure. And then I've got systems and procedures to ensure that that happens. That's any hospitality industry. That's how you run nightclubs, how restaurants work. That's it. That's how you create order out of chaos. So I know you're doing that. How often are you doing scheduled maintenance days, where we're coming in and doing bringing a handyman in, and is that done annually, quarterly, seasonally?
It depends on the property. If it's an older property, it has a lot more maintenance. A newer property doesn't have as much. So It varies from property to property. But in general, once again, I try to walk all my properties that I manage every 45 days. As I scale, that's getting more difficult. So I've got to find a way to replicate myself and teach others how I do things. And again, it doesn't take but one or two times something breaking in the middle of I'll give a great example of make sure you check your septic tanks immediately when you purchase one, because there's a good chance it may have not been pumped in the last 3 to 10 to 20 years. And I learned that one the hard way. I learned that very recently on a property, as a matter of fact. And the thing about it is if you're not actively engaged in that maintenance process, in that inspection process, in that every day, every week, every month, every hour, you just become a liability to yourself and to others, and then it takes you down a place you don't want to go. So I say as much as possible, but it depends on the recipient.
Cool.
What type of property it is.
Anybody else have another question about underwriting the assets? Yeah, so Todd, can you run that Vernon's mic over there? Thank you, Wee. Great. Anybody besides Todd have a question? Todd, we're running you a mic. Okay. One of the things that Vernon does, I'm just going to summarize this for you, right, is there's 3 levels of management. And I think this is a general rule for all of short-term rental management. There is done for you, full service management. There's done with you, where you could work with someone like Vernon, and maybe he's going to help you set up SOPs. You're going to pay him a rate, and he's going to go set up the maintenance schedule with you and work on some SOPs and
Software.
maybe co-host on the software side. Or there's do it yourself. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have Vernon here. Vernon does coaching and consulting, so there's some systems that you could run. You can get that kind of education, or you can get in the education if you're in. That's a much more expensive investment. It's worth it for Vodacy that Josh is in. But there's some self-management tools, but you're going to need some outside expert information to do that effectively, unless you want to learn the hard way. Todd, what's your question? Oh, sorry,
it's Tony.
Not an underwriting question, but it's for Vernon, I guess would be the best one to ask. Since you do self-manage, what is the plan for when you take vacations? Who takes the wheel while you're relaxing?
You know how many dinners I've been interrupted on? A lot. Because honestly, you can have the best VAs, you can have the best staff. Like I said, I have two different systems. I personally curate properties, and I have other folks that help me with them. I've got somebody available 24/7 to answer questions. So in general, what I would recommend is if you're going to do it and self-manage it, the times you're awake, you do it. When the times when you're not awake, find somebody in the Philippines, which I have someone. If anybody needs a good VA, I know a good one. But I think you need to sleep. You need to be able to get away sometimes. I've been interrupted in a lot of really weird situations, funerals, weddings, or whatever. So that's why I say it's not passive. It's not a passive thing. It's very active. And a guest doesn't care where you're at, what you're doing. They don't care if you're on your anniversary cruise or whatever.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Yep.
They don't care because their job that they see in front of them is, I got to get this fixed. I got to get this handled now. Those drunk texts at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're at the wrong property, because every property on the street looks the same. You know how many times you get those? A lot. A lot. I'll probably get one tonight.
I love it. So I've got a question for Josh, and I think it's going to go, we're going to wrap up this underwriting, and it's going to lead right into the marketing, which is when we're underwriting this asset, and we've had many conversations about this, one of the most important things is determining what amenities are most important in that market. So, and then highlighting those amenities is right. So what amenities are you seeing right now, because you're working all over? What's trending right now? What are the amenities that guests are clamoring for?
You know, again, market to market. If you're in Miami, the hot tub doesn't mean so much, right? You're in the Smokies, it does, right? The heated pool, right, is great for an area that gets mildly cold. If you're in Wisconsin, the heated pool may not have much purpose outside of a couple weeks of the year, right? There is a back-end Airbnb called Tableau, which I have access to through a Scottish connection. And I can draw a map around, which is something Airbnb says they're going to do, but they don't have that right yet. But I can draw a map around an area, and I can pull up amenities, and I can see what the top performers have. For those of you in the mountains, being pet-friendly is not so much, doesn't necessarily increase your rates, because a lot of times that rate increase is going to extra cleaning fees and stuff like that. It goes to additional occupancy, right? And those things matter, but in some properties they don't, right? So looking at them from the front end for what amenities to offer, things that are like kind of hot button topics right now. The game rooms are great, barrel saunas, right? Those things are fun. I still would rather personally have a hot tub, but they're really cool to look at and cool to photograph, right? And they sell really well. But again, I think in functionality wise, something with water is probably going to treat you at the long thing. Gaming systems, whether maybe not just so much like a PS3, but like having an infinity table with a custom inlay, or the standalone video games that have like multiple games. We have one at our house actually that has like 135 old Atari games on it, right? And we got it from a Chicago company. We were going to use that on the unit, but it's kind of quirky, and it's quirky is not something like it has a couple of twitches, and I'm not putting some of the twitches in the unit. Mm-hmm. So, but amenities, again, looking at your market, and I think I sent you a data pack, and I sent it to Vernon earlier too for that one property. Looking at the top properties in your market that compare to you. Are you a beachfront property? Then what do other beachfront homes have? If you're a third row property, you're not necessarily worried about the beachfront homes, you're worried about what other third row properties have, because that is your clientele list right there, right? And that success will leave the clue for what you need to offer. Properties can do well without a hot tub in the mountains, but you're never going to be that luxury level. Or even really, I mean, I'm working on a property right now in Maggie Valley, and they are 1-bedroom properties. And they don't have hot tubs because the gentleman's mother is partnered with them, and for whatever reason she doesn't want hot tubs. Don't know why, right? However, he's a big motorcyclist, and these properties, those of you who ride motorcycles, I told him to change one of his photos. I was like, hey, there's a photo of you on your Facebook profile page that's your motorcycle parked in front of your cabin. He said, well, why would I do that? I'm like, because it shows me as a guest that I can get to your cabin easily on my motorcycle, and that is huge for that type of person. So, but again, assessing your market, assessing your comp set, who are you talking to, what amenities do they want, right? You can always talk the hot, fun stuff, but but who are we speaking to with that?
So I don't know if anyone's a motorcycling enthusiast in here, but like Maggie Valley is where they've got a motorcycle museum. It's a mecca, right? It's over there right near Cherokee. And so if you haven't been, the motorcycle museum is absolutely incredible. I'm not even that into motorcycles, and I thought it was great. But that's something very specific. You wouldn't know, like, there's an appeal there. Has anybody heard of Flat Rock Motorsport Park? One guy, Nathan. There's a couple hands up here, right? So they're building a motorcycle park out in Rockwood that's that's got an F1 track. They're gonna have 6 tracks total. They're building car condos there. And I know some people that are doing, Airbnbs. You can get an Airbnb there. It's gonna be kind of equidistant right in between that and Windrock. Windrock is our ATV park. So those are special enthusiasts. Like you could do that's one market where you could really target those amenities specifically. Here locally, it's gonna be things like hot tubs for us, right?
Yep. Cool.
Game rooms.
The view, you can't build nature, right? Like that view, you can't recreate it, right? And that's and again, your competitor, if you're in the woods, the view properties aren't your competitors. You can beat them, right? And they can beat you, but you don't have the view to offer. So how are you speaking to that guest? And speaking of something unique, and I mean, the niches get the riches, right? If you know where Mattawan, West Virginia is, I'm from West Virginia. I was born in West Virginia. I have no idea where that place was. A buddy of mine has a property there, and his property he sent me to do an audit on. It looks like a double wide trailer on top of a warehouse, and they were killing it. And I'm like, dude, this place is dumpy, it's dirty. I don't even know where to begin to tell you about your property, but the revenue, what am I missing? So they're at a trailhead for these Hatfield and McCoy trails, but are big ATV trails, right? And the garage underneath the house is for people to pull their ATVs in and work on them, right? And I would have never thought of that, but they murder that market, and it doesn't have a lot of comps there because they offer something for a trailhead for a certain select group of people that you don't have options to go, right? There's only so many places I can go work on my ATVs and go ride it. And so you said about being equidistant between an F1 track and another ATV place, those people are going to want to go there.
Yeah, and I have someone that's looking at land to build a barn dominium, right? So they can do, the barn dominium. They can have that covered garage space, and they can have the residential space all in one property that's secured. So, talking about amenities, can we talk about lifestyle presentation, Josh, real fast, and what that looks like? So, what's the difference between a lifestyle shoot and a real estate shoot? We've all seen a real estate shoot if we looked at Zillow, right? It's selling houses. You should not be using real estate photos for your short-term rental. All right, we're going to talk about why. So what's the difference, Josh?
So to kind of touch on what my company is best known for, we do data-driven, a lot of data, right? Multimedia asset development and production. We photos and videos for short-term rentals and media assets based around the data, right? Because the data tells us a story. Like Nate said, like Batman said, the numbers don't lie, right? So we look at these assets. Most of your properties, if you go look at every single property, you pull up, first 1,000 properties that pop up in Gatlinburg or whatever, you're going to see that 950 of them have a regular real estate photo shoot, which is fine, and it's average. And if you want to be average, that's what you're going to have. You're going to have the hot tub that's not turned on. You're going to have that TV turned off. Oh, you're going to have that TV turned off. There's going to be a big black hole on that camera. Oh, someone's going to Photoshop an image onto it. When they Photoshop the image, post-editing. So they've already edited the photo, they brought the colors out, and they slap the image on top, and to your eye, that looks unnatural, right? And now I'm having trouble believing that image. I'm gonna go sky swap the image over the house, and I'm gonna turn it red, pink, purple, and yellow. If you see a sky that color, you should run. That's not natural, right? That's not, and your brain naturally thinks that that's not normal. I forget who I was talking to earlier. When you see things, we're conditioned through evolution. When you see things that aren't natural in an environment, you don't trust it, you don't believe it. And if I want to take my family on vacation, it's not going to be to a place I don't believe, right? So what a lifestyle photo shoot is, moving on, right, is we want to take the house itself, let's say the house is these couches, this color floor, this color wall behind us. What can we bring into the shoot to make this stand out? What colors will create contrast? What composition will catch the eye? Because most of us are on our phone and we're looking at listings. And it's a very small screen with one photo on it, right? And what photo grabs the eye? Now I've caught the eye with a pop of color, a pop of red, a pop of green, a pop of something. The hot tub is on, the TV is on, the fire pit is lit. It's not a Photoshop fire because that looks unnatural. It's a real fire, right? There's real s'mores there. I don't put out, fake s'mores, right? And then we basically do that for every single shot in the property. Right? So it's not just like, hey, this one shot, because then I go to the second photo and it's just a regular shot of a bedroom. Boring. I'm done. Next. Right? Keep scrolling. There's plenty of options out there, right? So how can I make myself stand out? The other thing you have to understand with the OTAs, it's hard to find the property again. Right? Unless they favorite you or they save your URL or something is there that catches the eye that makes them reminded, and especially in a heavily saturated market, it's very hard to find your property again. right? And you can do all the fancy things you want and change your headline to whatever. People don't even look at the headline until the photo has caught their eye. Photos caught the eye, and depending on which OTA you're on, and depending if you're on desktop or mobile, you either see one photo and the headline and you click, or you see 5 photos. You see the cover and then 4 other images, which is called a postcard off to the side, and then the headline. And the way that we naturally track, because we're 70% visual, right, is we see the pictures and then we will read the headline, right? So the headline means out of those things, your 5 photos, if you only had 5 photos to sell your property, those photos need to be the best photos that exist. If you're a property, let's say you're Gatlinburg, I'll just keep using that, I don't know the area very well, and everyone has a hot tub. Everyone takes a picture of the hot tub. Cool. What can we do with that hot tub to make your hot tub be the best hot tub? Right? Doesn't mean go to a new hot tub. How can we stage it with simple items? So when we're on site, we're not there. We don't. Most real estate photographers, and nothing against them at all, they're going to come on site around 12 o'clock or 11 a.m. and they're going to be out the door by 1. Cool. I stay the night there. I'm there at sunrise. I'm there at sunset. I'm there at twilight. I'm getting all those times and all those shots. Our team is there. We're articulating it. We're looking at it in advance. If you're a beach property and you have a short beach when it's high tide, I'm looking at the time of year. I'm looking at what the tide chart is to make sure that when it's sunset, that short beach isn't hidden, right? And there's little details there. The devil's in the details, and that's where our product is able to stand out on a national level. Because when we come on site, we think about those little things that most people don't. Think about what time of year it is right now. It's the beginning of September. When did the leaves come off the trees? If you own a property in this market, your shoot time ends when those leaves start to fall.
Yeah. No, does that make sense, right? And you got to think about how much media do you all consume? How much professional video are you consuming now, right? The quality, even on our social media on Reels, is pretty incredible. Would you all agree? And so the competition is a lot more, and it's storytelling. And if we doubt that storytelling is important, like why is Disney and Marvel worth billions? Right?
I mean, like when you look at from a short-term rental and marketing, and not the sense of like ad spend or anything, your photos are your only marketing assets to 99% of your business. When you talk about videos, as of right now, the only way you can use a video on the OTA is through a QR code, right? So that means they have to, you're not gonna have your first photo is not a QR code. Neither is your second, neither is your third, neither is your fourth or your fifth, right? You've got to get the client interested with your first 5 photos to even get to that level. And then at the video side, I think I recommend this with Vernon with the property as well. If your owner or whoever is not planning to buy paid marketing, or they're not planning to go heavy on social media or anything like that, the video doesn't serve much purpose, right? We will gladly do it for you. I would love to, right? But you're not going to see an ROI on that video because you're not using it to its purposes currently on the OTAs.
And so the reason why I invited Josh here is we had a great conversation. The first time I was interviewing him, he was a client, right? We were looking for a cabin for him, but he really was able to articulate all of these things because when they're working, and I love this, he's like, the first thing I do is then underwrite a property to see what that delta is, what that gap is between what it should be doing in there. And then I can determine like, no, it doesn't make any sense to spend $5,000. You're not gonna, the money's not there, or if you spent $5,000 and you can make an extra 20 or 25 a year and you use these assets for the next 5 years, is that a good ROI for you, right? Which I love. That's acting as a fiduciary. Like, no, don't do this. And that's why he's got great reviews. It's that 5 STR guest book. I want to talk, if I can, about how to finance these. Is that okay? So I want to, before we wrap up, talk to Nathan a little bit about how to get these things underwritten. How do you buy these assets? So Nathan, what are the different ways you can buy these? I'd say there's 2 big categories, right? There's really buying it as a second home or buying it as an investment. And then there's some subcategories.
Yeah. You can buy them any which way, and I'll keep this 101.
Yes.
So if you're going to do it as an active lifestyle and you're not building a business, the second home is a great option. There's a lot of downfalls with it. You can ask later, but there's some benefits to it, and that's what's gotten a lot of people actually in trouble right now. But there's also buying it as a true investment, and that's why we haven't hit on this yet. When you're buying a short-term rental, it's all about your play. What's your point? I think you mentioned it earlier about appreciation. Are you quitting your job to be a property manager?
What you said is, what type of investor are you?
Yes.
So what's your investing strategy? If you don't have an investing strategy, maybe you should think about that before you go drop tens of thousands of dollars on a down payment.
100%. So like my short-term rentals, I'm all about building a business. I'm about an LLC, because it is a short-term rental. It's a business, so there's a special route of doing those loans. Those are called commercial loans or DSCR. The big thing about those, debt service coverage ratio, I know you're going to ask that.
Yep.
Those are basically how you buy, short-term rentals. If you read the guidelines that just came out in June, the government, Fannie Mae, came out and actually said, quit doing loans with short-term rental data, right? That was a newsletter that went out to every lender out there. No longer can you use that on appraisals. You never could. Fannie Mae was just buying those loans. They made that announcement. But the reason I like it, I invest in an LLC, is because I'm building a business.
Can I put a pin there? Because I love what
Yes.
you said. So, right, so Fannie Mae is a government agency, right? Fannie Mae does not provide loans, but Fannie Mae is an end buyer for loans, because every loan that's made, there's a secondary market, right? Where they're packaging and reselling those loans. And there's some big institutional investor that's like, hey, yeah, great. I want an asset that's going to give me a 7% return with this amount of risk. Does that make sense? That's also why we got in all this trouble in '07, because we were packaging these and selling garbage to pension funds and institutional buyers. So Fannie Mae said, hey, no longer are we going to look at these on residential, but these commercial loans or the DSCR loans, they're underwriting these based off of income. It's a separate
Yes, it's
separate
a
asset,
conventional
separate loan
loan,
product, right?
but it's a business purpose, so you look at income. It's also, not every lender is the same, but when you talk to most of the gurus out there, they want the promissory note to have the LLC on it, right? Because of protection, liability. Talk to your CPA, talk to your attorney. But not every DSCR loan puts your LLC on the promissory note. It benefits you in the long run to do that for privacy reasons and other things. But the other benefit with DSCR that we find is, like, you can scale at any pace. And then also, is it Sean who does syndications?
Yeah.
DSCR loans allow you to do syndications to buy short-term rentals. No one knows that. But if we three of us right here wanted to buy a short-term rental together, piece of cake, right? If you go any other loan, you got to look at his credit, my credit, debts, liabilities. DSCR and commercial loans, they don't care about that. They look at the property itself. So when you run a pro forma, whether it's by AirDNA or it's by an appraiser or other things, if the property is going to, at least break even, you're going to be approved, right? Unless, your credit's like a 400, like back in 2006. That's not funny. We actually did those in 2006, that low. Yeah, we won't go there. So with financing them, it's very easy to finance. It's great to partner with people. It's a business. It's all based upon the business. Again, I think short-term rentals are great going DSCR if you're an investor for truly investing. If you're going the active lifestyle, which is very popular, which means you stay there. I also have a property this way because I go there quite a bit. It's in Cosby. I know we mentioned Cosby earlier. It's a great route to go, but I spend a lot of time there. That's not a money-making machine for me. It's for my family to go and enjoy.
So one of the things that we've talked about, what are the differences between a second home loan and a debt service coverage ratio loan? One of the differences is interest rate. And we've talked about the fact, you said this to me, that interest rate really doesn't matter when it comes to investments.
Yes, so there's a guru out there, one of the first ever conferences that was put on, we did in Nashville. This was said, and it wasn't by me, I was actually very impressed by this guy. He said, if it's 30% and I'm making money, I'll do that deal all day long. I'll pay private money. Interest rate doesn't matter. What matters is my return, right? What matters is it a good deal? So if I take 8%, am I still getting a great cash on cash return? Am I still getting a great return on equity? Am I still making good money? That's why it's important to dive deep. Like he said, don't take face value, because my cash flow on my property, one of my properties right now, if you were only making $300 a month cash flow positive, do you think that's a good deal? Anybody? All right. My deal probably beats most of yours, right? It's infinity cash on cash return because I did what I should copyright it. Burster. I have no money invested in this cabin. I have all my money out of it because I bought a low performing property, took my cash back. I have no money invested in it. So that $200, $300 is infinity cash on cash return. So that's why it's important to go deeper than just looking at cash flow.
Does anyone not know what cash on cash return is? Anybody that's new, came here to learn about real estate investing? Cool, thank you. No problem. I appreciate your honesty. That's why we're all here, right? Cash on cash return is, you can look at, like, cap rate gets thrown around sometimes, usually by people that don't really know what cap rate means. But they're just, because it's a specific term, right, from the commercial world, and cash on cash return gets thrown out. Cash on cash return is just really simple. I bought a property for $100,000. I put $10,000 down, right? I'm making $20,000, right, every single month. It's what's my return on the cash that I have in the property. So when he's saying he has infinity cash on cash return, what he's talking about is that, remember how to BRRRR, how to buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat? He's done a cash out refinance, and he's got all of his own cash out of the property. So the return on the property, it's an infinite return. I have nothing in that property, right? I control an asset without having any of my own cash in the property. And so what DSCRs allow you to do, and come on Tuesday, and we can go really, really deep. It's not that Nathan's an incredible communicator. It's just like,
I'm not good at 101.
No, I brought a calculus expert here, and I was like, let's talk about arithmetic. Is breaking down some of the nuances of this, but to make it really simple, right? A DSCR loan can allow you to put down less on the property, and it can also free you up to purchase more properties, right? And not be constrained by credit and.
So it is based on credit, but it does allow as little as 15% down, right? Every lender is different. What's funny is I actually looked at your slides from last year when we did this, and one of the slides actually said DSCR rates are ridiculously high compared to all other loans. That's not true. DSCR is actually lower in a lot of situations because a lot of the investors, you guys haven't noticed this, but a lot of the big investors have pulled out of investing in Airbnb, AirDNA, and all these sources, and now they're buying these mortgage-backed securities. They're buying these rates. So your rate with a DSCR loan is actually less than if you go Fannie Mae. The other benefit to it is, of course, the LLC, where you're buying it as a business, right? A goal of a lot of investors, again, if you're a true investor and your goal is to build a business, right now you have a lot of people going around and saying, I want to buy a portfolio. Who was it that was selling 75 cabins, right? If you build a portfolio,
Paul McClendon is.
yeah, you have 12 rentals and it's performing well, you can sell it as a business, right? You sell the LLC. It's also a way to get around loopholes in Nashville, but you sell it as a business. And I do want to correct 101. I do have a statement about cash on cash.
Please.
The reason for cash on cash is I used to sell investments. I'm a finance guy. That's how my mind works. Cash on cash gives you a percentage. So if you're making 5%, what else can make 5% with your money, right? You can go to Home Federal and get a CD, right? So who knows? If my money is sitting in a bank account making 0.25 and I have 200 grand there, but yet we ran a pro forma today for a lady, she's at 8% cash on cash straight out the bat after paying 30% property management, but with her tax saving, it's even higher. It makes more sense to go that because that's 8% cash on cash return per year to analyze against what your money's currently doing. So if my money is doing better in an investment vehicle, why would I take money out? Yes, appreciation, some other things, but it's a tool that allows you to compare, hey, my money's making, when I was at Regions Bank, it was literally 0.25 for a CD.
So cash on cash gives you
A measurement
an
tool.
objective metric that you can
Yes,
compare
right.
against other asset classes.
Yes.
So if you're diversifying your portfolio, that's one of the easiest ways to like, how do I compare real estate investing towards those? I'd also say, if you haven't done this, keep in mind what we talk about. I talk about noise. How much noise does this asset have? I'm getting a higher return, but this has more noise than my index fund. That's where management comes into place.
Can I jump one thing on
Please.
that? And Nate can definitely qualify this. Your cash on cash return is typically higher in a lower appreciating market, and it's flipped the other way, right? If you're in Jackson Hole, you're probably losing money for 3 to 5 years, but your appreciation's insane. So it's a longer term play, right? If you want that money back in hand, right, you want a cash on cash return. Like Louisville, Kentucky, right, is a hotbed right now for cash on cash return. Not going to get a lot of appreciation there, right? And when you talk about appreciation, you're not talking about COVID, right? You can talk to someone like Justin and get you 20 years of appreciation in the market. That's going to show you on average what that's going to look like over a 4, 5, 10-year return. And your internal rate of return, that's what I want to see is the cash on cash and appreciation, because you can cash flow negative for a decade and that decimal point can still move on appreciation. You'll make way more that way in the right market, but it's not going to be every market.
Josh, is that I think you just Jeopardy style gave the answer before the question. Does that answer the question of why some of the wealthiest and most successful investors are willing to buy a negatively a negatively cash flowing or a break even asset?
And this is something, again, talking about Vodacy, they're based out of Utah. like Park City, right? That is not a cash flow place, but that place, I mean, is cash flowing historically 8 to 10% per year, right? Do that math. Take $1 million investment, negative cash flow, a couple $1,000s a month for 10 years. That sounds terrible, but then you basically just made $1 million, right? And it's going to trump inflation every single time, and cash flow won't necessarily do that.
Again,
Nathan,
it's
Mr.
what kind of investor you are. If you're looking for cash flow to quit your job, maybe we should have a conversation. Yeah. But if the long play, appreciation, everything, and tax savings, it's all going to add up. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Come Tuesday night, dive deep. It's the big picture. A lot of people during COVID got fixed on this thing called TikTok, where everyone was quitting their jobs and doing short-term rentals with cash flow. If that's your type of investment style, God bless you. But if you're in it for everything else, look at big picture. It's okay to lose money. I lost money for a year. I'm losing money. I won't say how much on this one deal I'm doing right now, a house hack, but 11 months. But when I do my refinance, hopefully next month, if my counter's actually get installed next week, I will actually pay myself back 75 grand on top of what I put into the property. That is phenomenal. So always look at big picture, every angle. Don't just look at cash flow. That's my biggest advice.
All right. I have one last question, and can you just explain the tax benefits briefly of owning a short-term rental?
I won't get into it for legal sakes, but I will tell you this much. I've always paid taxes, and then when I started buying short-term rentals, I started getting money back. So see your CPA, because there are tax benefits, whether it's bonus depreciation, cost seg, the short-term rental loophole. Ryan Bakey does a great job. Follow him on his tax strategies, but please see a CPA. I tried for years to do my own taxes because I do have a degree in finance and a minor in accounting. I can tell you using a CPA really helps.
So we said we're going to do a giveaway. I've got a couple of different people. Suzanne, is this you? It's Aaron. It's RN. Is it you? Yeah. So Suzanne, we've got something for you. Aaron White. Where's Aaron White at? She had to leave.
Oh, no giveaway.
Sorry, Aaron.
I got her contact info.
Okay. And then who's DJ Lift? D Lifts.
Just look at his profile and see if he looks like a guy out here.
Dale had to leave too, so no one gets anything. So we got Dale and Jesse had to post too. So Jesse, you won, and you can give this to Aaron. We'll run that thing down. Does anybody have? I'm not going to get too into it. There are really strong benefits. You can do basically accelerated depreciation on your taxes, and so you can use short-term rentals. You can use any sort of real estate asset. The depreciation on there is
one way to offset your ordinary income. Meaning not only can you buy an asset and then write off the income that you're generating from the asset, it also generates an additional tax loss that you can use to offset your regular income from your W-2 or your 1099. Does that make sense, like on a simple level? So if you're making $100 grand a year, you should be talking to somebody about buying assets for tax purposes. That's one of the reasons why real estate is such a powerful tool in your investing bucket, right? It's because you got long-term appreciation, you have someone else paying the mortgage down with the short-term rental, and you've got incredible tax benefits as well. There's a couple CPAs in the room. Emily, Charles, raise your hand, right? So get with Emily, if you've got some questions on this afterwards.
I want to thank all of our panelists. Does anyone have a question for the panelists before I let you go? I know we've gone a little over. Fantastic. They're all going to be here hanging out. Thank you very much, Batman. Appreciate you, Nathan Gort. Appreciate Vernon Carmen. Thank you, Josh. If you're new here, if you want to show the last one here, great. Oh, we have a pop-up event. We have a new
That's from last year still.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like, I sold that one. I was like, I'm having deja vu. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So we have a couple events coming up here. Brandon, can you go up here really fast? So Brandon Christopher, we've seen some of his product. We've sold some of his product, right? He's going to be coming and joining us September 20th in our office to answer all your questions about building new. We've seen some great returns on building new. We've seen people buying properties with equity in there. Yeah. So he's going to be there to answer all your questions. We're going to talk about some of the product, and then we're going to go look at some of that product the last week of the month.
Great. Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
I learned a lot up here. I focus on the new construction side, so I've learned a lot about taxes, appreciation, all those things. So we focus on build, develop, and actually furnishing our cabins. So I'm kind of have a unique situation. I took over from my father-in-law about 3.5 years ago. So I have a new vision of all the things we talked about to make your property unique. And traditionally, we've always built just a standard log cabin with hot tubs and pools. So excited to see you guys there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, thank you. And then we've got that event on Tuesday. So I'll get details in the grid group. If you're new, we have a Facebook group. We're going to send you, look for an email tomorrow, I'll put links in there, but we have a Facebook group for everyone. It's a private group. You can jump in that, or you can follow us on Instagram at Grid Knoxville. If you got something out of this, there's going to be a link tomorrow. I'd really appreciate a review. We just got our reviews back up. We're off Google for like a year. It was a nightmare dealing with it.
But it would mean a lot. It'd help us a lot. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. We appreciate you all. We'll see you next week on Tuesday night. Thank you. Thank you. I love